we're going to go ahead and get started, and others will join us as they log on and join the chat room. My name's Gigi. I'd like to welcome you today to our Social Media Security in the Modern World webinar. And right before we get started, I want to let you all know that we will be doing a giveaway for a gift card and an hour consulting with Chris Yancey. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Amit Konda, and he's going to talk a little bit about ProTech.
Thank you, Gigi. Greatly appreciate it. Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody is having a great Tuesday afternoon. And as Gigi mentioned, we are very glad to present this webinar today, which will be focused on social media security in the modern world. So before getting started, just a quick overview about ProTech Services Group. We are a technology services firm with over 25 years of experience focused on delivering IT services to businesses. We help businesses leverage technology to achieve profitability, growth, and security. Under the ProTech Services umbrella, we have multiple divisions. A quick overview of those divisions are the Managed Services Division, which deals everything from on-prem desktop, laptop support all the way to data center and cloud services support. The second is the Cloud Solutions Division, which is purely focused on being able to transition an organization to the cloud and then manage their cloud environment as well. We have security solutions, everything from endpoint security to managed firewalls, whether they may be physical or virtual, whether it's in the data center or in the cloud infrastructure. We have the Carrier and Voice Solution Division, which focuses everything related to telecom. So your local internet circuits, connectivity between your different office locations, phone systems, and UCaaS as well. We also have a technology and consulting division where we are focused on helping companies prepare for the next 2, 3, 5-year planning and making sure that they are able to take full advantage of the way their current technology is set up. And then last but not the least, we have a talent acquisition division. We are able to place very highly talented IT team members for organizations, whether it be contract to hire or permanent hire. So that's a quick overview about ProTech Services Group. And now to talk about the webinar today. Our webinar today will be presented by Chris Yancey. He is our Security and Solutions Advisor. And as Gigi mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, we will be offering a 1-hour free consulting session with Chris, so that if your organization wants to take a deeper dive or get a better understanding of how you can really leverage technology, not just from a security standpoint, but also possibly some other areas of collaboration as well. Chris is a great asset, and we are very lucky to have him on our team. And with that, I will hand it over to Chris.
Thank you, Amit. I appreciate that. Hello, everybody. I want to thank you all for joining us today as we talk about social media security in today's modern world. It's a topic that doesn't get talked about enough, I think, and doesn't get the attention that I think it really should. A lot of us are using social media. A lot of our employees or coworkers are utilizing social media on a daily basis, and we just don't realize how much it can affect our daily business. So that's what we want to talk about today, is just how some of those social media aspects come into play in our business, whether or not we're utilizing it as part of our company policy or not. So social networks like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and so on, all of them allow you to connect with friends, coworkers, and even whole organizations. However, social media comes with some major risks, and so hackers can target you and your organization by piecing together seemingly unimportant snippets from your posts and profiles and use that information against you. And that's why it's critical that you recognize the risks that are out there and know how to avoid them. So that's what we want to talk about today. So during this webinar, we're going to discuss several things, the general risks and potential threats that are out there, some best practice guidelines that are going to help you and your organization stay safe, how to recognize and avoid some common organizational risks, and most importantly, some of the tools that you can use to avoid what's the risks that are out there. So how we're going to go about doing that is we're going to look and examine the actions of about 5 employees who use social media in a different variety of ways. Some for personal reasons, some for job-related purposes. So you'll get a chance to witness those decisions that they're going to make that put themselves and their companies in jeopardy. And we'll take a look at what each one of them should have done at the end of seeing what it is that they do. So the first guy we're going to take a look at is Antonio. So Antonio likes to be on his phone 24/7. I'm sure a lot of us know people just like that. And he's always checking out the latest trends and business articles while he's at work. So one thing Antonio's tired of doing is he's tired of dealing with passwords all the time. Raise your hand if you're that person. So he's tired of dealing with all the passwords or all the sites that he frequents. You know, if you really think about it, some of us are frequenting up to about 200, 300 different sites. Who's going to keep up with all those different usernames and passwords? Definitely not Antonio. And it's a drag for him to keep looking those things up. Luckily for Antonio, he has a couple of go-to passwords that he often uses. So since his passwords require a mixture of numbers and letters, like most of us do, one of his go-to passwords happens to be his favorite childhood street, 165 Washington Avenue. And then for good measure, he also throws a pound sign at the end of it. Since Antonio uses a lot of different sites and apps for work, he often signs up for these sites not only with his work email, but also with that go-to password that he uses for every single site out there. So today, Antonio's organization is doing something special. They're switching over and migrating over to Office 365. Needless to say, Antonio is very excited about that, and for good reason. It's going to make access to his documents really easy at work, at home, and on the road. So what he does is he sets up his new account, username, and password so he can get web access. And guess which password he's going to use for his Office 365 account. It's going to be easy for him to remember, so no big deal. So he spends his lunch hour poking around on Facebook, on Twitter, and on LinkedIn. I mean, a guy's got to see what his friends are up to, right? So one of the social media sites Antonio goes to all the time happens to be hacked. Since Antonio uses the same password and logs in with his work email, he makes it really easy for the hackers, and it doesn't take long for those hackers to wreak havoc in his account. So they use his Office 365 username and password to break into his organization's network and install some ransomware. Antonio's carelessness, unfortunately, has left him ashamed and jobless at this point. So therefore it is bye-bye Antonio. So what we want to learn is what could Antonio have done better? You know, where did he go wrong? So this is the smarter and wiser Antonio. He doesn't want to make it any easier for hackers to bust into his organization. So he's created an email address to use online, and he's also using long, unique passphrases. So that's one thing that the FBI has encouraged people to start doing is instead of using one word and then switching up numbers or adding a pound sign or exclamation point at the end of it, is to use long, complex passphrases, taking 3 or 4 words that are totally unrelated but make sense to you and string those words together to create one unique passphrase. So your actions when you're using social media and online logins can really impact you and your organization. It's really important not to reuse passwords, even if it's been 5 years since you last used it. If there's a breach in any of the sites that you use, the hacker can use that breached password to sign into other sites where you use the same password. So please don't reuse any passwords. Really important not to do that. Instead, use that complex passphrase that we just talked about. You also don't want to use your work email or login credentials. Using the same username and password for work and for personal reasons can enable hackers to break into your company's system. So you never want to use your work email address for social apps or web logins. Ideally, you want to create an alternative personal email that you only use for those site logins. Next up, we want to look at Ashley. Ashley's in love with her iPhone, as many of us are. It makes life so much easier. And so with Google and Facebook, really handy, using the apps and keeping in touch with a lot of friends and colleagues is a breeze for Ashley. She and her new colleague are in charge of this new upcoming marketing launch. She never really got into Pinterest, but her colleague lets her know that, hey, if you're looking for some quick, graphic ideas, Pinterest is the way to go. Look on there. You can find a lot of free material that you can use for this upcoming launch. So she downloads Pinterest and she goes to set up a new account. She sees an option that you can sign in with Facebook. This appeals to Ashley because no need to think up a new password for this Pinterest account. I can just log in using my Facebook account. So while she's in Pinterest, she finds some really great options for that marketing launch she's putting together, including a link to an outside site that has some really great free graphics, which is totally what she's looking for. Who doesn't like free stuff? So she goes on this outside site. She thinks that it's totally worth it. She clicks the link and then it redirects her to actually re-enter her login credentials that she just originally put in. So she signs in again using her Facebook credentials. She can't wait to share what she found with her colleagues. She needs a really quick way to update him and let him know the good news. So Ashley decides to use Facebook Messenger to get in touch with him. While on Facebook Messenger, she texts the graphics that she found on this free site. She's sure that he's going to be really pleased and happy with what she's found. Unfortunately, Ashley's message gets hacked because that bad guy at that free graphics site that she went to just accessed her Facebook account using the credentials that she so willingly gave him. So the hacker takes the info that Ashley put together. She sells it to the competition, and they quickly create a version of their own presentation, as well as announcing it on Wired Magazine 2 weeks before Ashley's product even launches. Needless to say, Ashley feels really sick about the whole thing, and yes, she's pretty green. So again, what could we learn from Ashley? Ashley did a couple of things wrong here. So the first being that Ashley should have known better. Ashley used her personal email and a never before used password to create a new login. Okay, so she obtained the number, called her colleague, reached out to him the old-fashioned way, and that's the proper way to do it, rather than logging into these unknown sites using your social media accounts, as well as sending the finished product through Facebook Messenger. The hacker had already gotten her credentials off of this free bogus site, so she automatically knows the login, the username, the password from her Facebook account, and any message that she was sending through Facebook Messenger has now been compromised. So sending anything work-related through any of these social sites is a big no-no. There's no way to completely secure that, so you want to make sure that you're not sending out anything work-related on any of these social sites. Some of these apps may be convenient to use, but it doesn't mean that they're always secure. Logging into the free graphics site kind of left her login information exposed and left her vulnerable to an attack. You also want to make sure you're not using in-app messaging for that sensitive information. Like I just said, in-app messengers tools like Facebook Messenger are not encrypted end-to-end by default. So any texted information that you send out is at risk of being intercepted, can make that content and private information accessible to any advertisers, law enforcement, or even worse, any hackers. So make sure that your messenger app that you're using has end-to-end encryption enabled. It just adds that strong layer of security to your communications. The third employee we want to take a look at is Simone. Now, Simone is hoping to get a promotion pretty soon. Her boss is one of those bosses that loves to use social media to push the branding of the company. So she decides to put a plan into action. She decides to write this month's marketing blog. With a little extra networking in her social circle, she's pretty confident that she can get lots of views and comments. For more traction, she needs to update her connections. So her first stop is going to be LinkedIn. While she's on LinkedIn, she says she notices that she has several connection requests waiting. Without even knowing everyone or caring if she knows everybody on LinkedIn that sent her an invite, she accepts all of the invitations blindly. Some are second or third party connections, but these are connections of people that she knows. So she's cool with that, no problem whatsoever. The next stop is going to be to Facebook. Same deal here. As soon as she logs into Facebook, she notices that she has tons of pending friend requests there too. Most of the people she doesn't know. She decides to accept them all. She notices that her newsfeed privacy is already set to public. She never changed it back to friends only, but no worries, because as far as she's concerned, the more views she gets, the better. So Simone only posted that last night, and look at all the likes and comments that she's gotten so far. In fact, one of her new friends even shared a link to an interesting looking marketing article. Simone decides to click on the link, and in the process, she unleashes malware that will soon infect more than 20 of the computers in her department before it's even detected. Needless to say, Simone did not get the promotion. So let's take a look at what Simone should have done. So this is the smart Simone. She decides not to click on the link. She's skeptical because she doesn't know the person who sent it to her. As the name indicates, social networking is a great way to network, but caution is required, to keep you and your organization safe. So you want to use social networking for the proper reasons. You want to network with other people, push your brand out there, absolutely. But the last thing you want to do is start connecting with tons and tons of people that you don't know, and in the process, sending them sensitive information. So be cautious when connecting with strangers. When you do that, you run the risk of exposing yourself, your friends, your company to any type of malicious attack. The safest thing that you can do is only connect with people you know personally or people that you can verify through a trusted connection. You want to make sure that you don't click on any link without verifying it first. So just blindly clicking on that marketing article link was a big mistake of Simone's. We get phishing emails in our inboxes all the time. They also come to us through SMS, text messaging on our phones, as well as articles that can compromise us through social media. So if you don't know the person, you should never click on a link that they send. A cyber criminal can easily pose as your friend who lost their friends list, or the hacker may have taken over the account of somebody that you even know. So make sure that you verify that link before you click on it. You also want to make sure that you're not ignoring your privacy settings. Always read a site's privacy agreement and adjust that privacy and security setting on each individual site, whether you're on LinkedIn, Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, it doesn't matter. Take a look at those. Take a couple of minutes and look at your privacy settings and see how they're set. You want to set that security level high, allowing a minimum amount of sharing. Privacy settings can change periodically, so make sure you review those settings at least once a quarter, I would say, and anytime you get a notification of any setting updates. Fourth on the list is my man Noah. Noah's pretty psyched, as you can see. He just met with his boss, and she gave him a surprise bonus for meeting his sales quotas. So he's feeling pretty good about himself. In order to prove his success, Noah decides to do something. He posts a screenshot of his Excel spreadsheet showing his Q2 top sales ranking on his Snapchat story. Now that he's got the extra cash from his bonus, Noah's going to take a long overdue vacation. He decides to post his Amazon wish list publicly. He just can't resist bragging while he's online, of course. So he provides the details of his upcoming trip with everyone. He decides to upload his printed boarding pass and itinerary on Instagram. Needless to say, Noah's created the perfect phishing scenario for a spear phishing attack. You never want to do what Noah's doing. Again, posting any sort of travel information, even photos, before you've taken the trip is a big no-no, and we'll see why in just a second with Noah. So a hacker notices the top salesperson announcement and uses it to send a phishing email to all of Noah's coworkers. One guy falls for it, clicks on the email, and allows the hacker into the network. And it's made even easier by Noah because Noah's post of his computer screen showed exactly what operating system the company was using. And because of his careless posts on the road, Noah's apartment even gets robbed. Who's flying now? It's certainly not Noah. So again, what can we learn from Noah? What should Noah have done? So this Noah ends up keeping his cool instead of bragging about it the way that the other Noah did. So Noah bragged a bit by announcing his corporate, success by sharing without sharing details without sharing details concerning his organization. So he kept his travel info out of the public eye, unlike the other Noah, posting pictures only once he was back. So again, if you notice on social media, a lot of people, even for personal travel, it may not even be anything work related, but a lot of people end up, posting, oh, I'm about to go here for 2 weeks, or, I'm at the airport, I'm about to take off for Fiji for a week. I mean, that is the worst thing that you could do. Never, ever post your travel information, work or personal, on social media before you take that trip. In fact, don't post anything about your trip. I wouldn't until you return from the trip, because you're just advertising the fact that, hey, you're not at your apartment. Noah did that. He ends up getting robbed. And you definitely don't want to post sensitive information, like screenshots of your, second quarter top sales, earnings. Again, you're giving out company information. Even the operating system that your company is using should be classified information and shouldn't be out there for a hacker to determine. This Noah never posts any travel information or out of office information. Again, like I just said, you're really jeopardizing yourself when you post things like your itinerary, your boarding pass. Things like that can really jeopardize your safety and the safety of your company. Last but not least, here we have Brian. Brian works at a creative agency. He's always got his Instagram privacy setting at public. And so Brian's thing is his goal every day is all about how many likes can he get with this particular post. So Brian is one of those guys that wants to see how many comments or how many likes that he can get on social media. It doesn't matter what he's posting, whether it's a picture of this or a picture of that. His ultimate goal is to get a lot of likes. So needless to say, he walks around with his smartphone, whether he's at work or not at work, all day, documenting his day online. So he comes in one day, and what's this? It seems like there's some new artwork in the agency lobby. So he takes a look at it. He's like, hey, this would be really good. I'll get a lot of likes off of this. He decides to pull out his phone, take a quick pic, and he's bound to get a bunch of comments and likes off of this photo. Only thing is, it's too bad those guys are in the shot. They really messed it up. But hey, no matter. I'm gonna post this anyway to Instagram. Now it's time to go do some work. Let's go check the morning emails. By the time Brian gets to his desk, the photo is already trending upwards. He's gotten over 108 likes and about 15 comments off of this one picture. Needless to say, Brian's feeling really good about himself. He decides to open his email. Let's finally do some work. And there's an email waiting for him right there from the CFO marked high priority. The email reads that no one is to reveal that a high-level investor is in the office to negotiate a potential buyout. Brian's having an uneasy feeling about this, needless to say, because sure enough, the guy that he took a picture of and posted on Instagram is the high-level investor. So Brian pulls out his phone and tries desperately to delete the post. Unfortunately, as everyone knows, once you put something out on the internet, it pretty much stays there, because before he was able to delete that post, an art director from a competing firm recognized the visitor right away on Instagram. She decided to take a screenshot of the post, and she decides to place it on Twitter with speculation about a potential merger. Between the retweets and comments on Twitter, the story gets picked up by Business Insider. There's an article that's posted by the end of the day talking about this potential merger, and that's not good news for Brian. So again, what can we learn from Brian? Let's not take photos of artwork or people in the office for one, but mainly you want to think before you post, and that's what this Brian does. With unknown people in the photo, something just didn't feel right, so he decides to take a breather from taking that photo and posting it on Instagram, because while everyone likes to be liked, it is critical to think before you post anything. Always ask yourself, would this be an embarrassment, or would it be harmful to me or my company if it ends up trending and on the front page tomorrow morning? So if there's some hesitancy about that, then you definitely don't want to take that picture. And most importantly, you don't want to post that on social media. So even though you may be able to delete your photo or post, someone else may have already taken a screenshot of it, copied it, retweeted, and shared it, which is exactly what happened to the old Brian. So looking at these 5 personas, we've learned a great deal about what to do and what not to do when using social media in our organizations. Noah taught us that hackers can accumulate details about your company from things that you post. Brian has showed us that posting everything just for the sake of likes can be really detrimental to a company. Ashley learned that the convenience of social media logins for different applications is not always the most secure method. Simone taught us that connecting with people she doesn't know could leave her and her organization vulnerable for an attack. And Antonio taught us not to reuse passwords that we use for other sites. And it's more important to use passphrases rather than recycle that go-to password. All right, so the decisions that an employee makes when using popular social media platforms could have potentially dangerous consequences for all of us. So I'm hoping that you gained a better understanding during this webinar of how to use social media safely and securely without putting your organization at risk. Does anyone have any questions for me at this time?
For the questions, you can use the chat box in Teams. If you are watching this live on Facebook, we have somebody monitoring that live feed as well. So please feel free to go ahead and post your questions. And while we are waiting for the questions, I will say that Chris has scared me enough that I think I'm just going to go ahead and delete all social media presence.
No need to do that.
Yeah, no, but on a different note, you know, it's very important and it's very key for organizations to have their employees educated about the dangers and how it can put the entire organization at risk with something very, very simple. And a lot of times, in fact, majority of the time, as Chris was talking through those different scenarios, these are unintentional and just, you know, in the moment uh, uh, of the time that you are in, those actions can really you know, cause a lot of issues for not only the personal in person, the individual, but also for the organization as well. So again, I think the key is education and awareness. We all know what role social media plays in today's day and age. It's very important, it's very critical, especially what we have all gone through over the last year of the pandemic and just remote working. Social media kept us all in touch, and you know, we were able to do a lot through social media. So again, it's important, it's necessary, but I believe the key is education and awareness. So, you know, I will again wait for 30 seconds or so to see if there are any questions that have been posed. Um, I um, I don't know if there have been anything posted on Facebook.
We currently do not have any questions on Facebook.
Okay, no problem. And for everyone who's listening in or watching the live stream, This webinar has been recorded, and a recording will be made available on demand if you guys need to just kind of review this again, or if you would like to schedule some time with Chris, we will be very happy to do that as well. If you would like to submit some questions even after the webinar is done, you can send an email to protechinfo@psgi.net. Again, that email ID is protechinfo@psgi.net. Chris, do you have any final words of wisdom before we end the webinar?
Yeah, I think just the main thing to take away from this is that social media is a great networking tool, especially tools like LinkedIn that are business related. It helps us find new connections. It helps us, reach back to those old connections. But we want to be careful about there's such a thing as sharing out too much information, and I think that social media has kind of put us all at risk with sharing out too much information, whether it is Simone's situation where she's posting things that she or connecting with strangers that she shouldn't connect with, or whether it is Noah's situation where he's trying to brag and show off, and now he's posting his second quarter earnings on Snapchat or whatever. There's such a thing as restraint. And I think we all need to learn or practice a little bit of restraint, even just, going out on vacation. Nothing wrong with posting your Disney World pictures, but do it when you get back. You don't want to come home to a house that's been broken in because you just told somebody on Facebook, you're about to spend the next 2 weeks at Magic Kingdom. So just be careful when you're on social media. Make sure that you're showing a little bit of restraint.
Yes, thank you, Chris. Really very good advice. And again, we hope that everybody listening will pay a lot of attention to this, and also take advantage of any time that they would like to get with Chris for further in-depth session as far as security related to social media. And like I said in the beginning, not just that, Chris has a very vast knowledge of other collaborative tools and technologies that businesses can leverage, especially in this day and age. So feel free to reach out to us. Again, the email ID is protechinfo@psgi.net. You can also visit our website, which is psgi.net. With that, I do not see any questions. So we will go ahead and end this webinar. Thank you so much to everyone who took time out this afternoon to attend, and look forward to seeing you guys on another one of our webinars here very soon. Thank you so much.